Herod and Mariamne. Herod returned to Judea to find his household in an uproar. First, Mariamne and her mother were well aware that they were not being kept at Alexandrium solely for their protection. Second, Mariamne once again learned of Herod's plan for her if he were to die. While he was gone, Mariamne decided it would be impossible for her to continue living with Herod. Unsuspecting, Herod rushed to his wife to share his good news, only to find her full of resentment and hatred towards him. Worse yet, she was no longer even pretending to love him, but openly showed her scorn. Herod wavered in despair, torn between his love for Mariamne and his overwhelming anger at her. Herod's sister Salome and their mother naturally took the opportunity to tell Herod lie after lie about his wife. Still, Herod could not bring himself to act, knowing how much he would suffer from Mariamne's death. Soon news arrived that Octavian had taken Egypt and both Antony and Cleopatra were dead, 30ish BC. Herod left his family behind to join Octavian in Egypt, where Octavian had restored the lands taken from him by Cleopatra and added to the lands of the Gadara, Hippos, and Samaria, as well as the towns of Gaza, Anthedon, Joppa, and Stratos Tower. Herod accompanied Caesar as far as Antioch, then returned to his family. Herod knew he had been fortunate to win the love of the beautiful Mariamne, who was a chaste and faithful wife, even if she was contentious and never hesitated to speak her mind to him. She did take advantage of his love for her. Still, he managed to laugh off most of her barbed comments, even those about his low birth station of his mother and sister. He loved her madly, but now she had nothing but hatred for him. They lived in this uneasy state for a year after Herod's return from Caesar. Finally, everything came to a head. Herod lay down for a noontime nap one day, calling for Mariamne. She came as ordered, but refused to join him in his bed. Instead, she berated him for causing the death of her grandfather Hyrcanus and her brother Aristobulus. Salome, hearing that Herod was more upset than usual with his wife, sent in his cupbearer to tell Herod that Mariamne had ordered him to give Herod a love potion. Herod seemed pleased at this turn of events until the cupbearer confided that he did not know what was in the potion and therefore thought it best to warn Herod. The obvious conclusion to which Herod violently jumped was that Mariamne was attempting to poison him. He, at least, allowed his wife a trial, building his case around the complete fabrication of a non-existent poisoned love potion. Herod was so furious at his wife that the court readily agreed she should be put to death, although there were some talks that she simply just be imprisoned. Salome convinced her brother that the citizens of Judea would rise up if Mariamne were locked away. She had to die. Mariamne's mother, Alexandra, afraid that she too would lose her life, immediately came to Herod's defense, publicly reproached her ungrateful daughter. Her change of heart fooled no one, especially her doomed daughter, who was now ashamed of her mother's actions. Thus, Mariamne, a woman of excellent character, chastity, and beauty, but also one who lacked moderation and too often became contentious, was killed. She trusted too much that Herod's love would protect her from his anger. As he had feared, Herod suffered enormously from Mariamne's death, for he truly did love her. He would frequently call out for her or send servants for her, weeping and disconsolated. Affairs of state were ignored. A pestilence that killed great number of people was seen as God's punishment for Mariamne's murder. Herod fled to the desert to escape his torment, only to come down with a serious injury and an illness and finally go mad with grief. At this point, Alexandra was living in Jerusalem. She heard of Herod's condition and attempted to gain control of Jerusalem's fortifications, one in the city and the other belonging to the temple. She claimed she was only looking after the interest of Herod's heirs, but those in control of the forts immediately sent word to Herod of Alexandra's schemes. He rallied from his grief long enough to order his mother-in-law's immediate execution and the death of some friends who might lay claim to the throne. Now there was no one left alive from the old royal family. Judea was uncontestably Herod's, but at a great personal cost.